The tension in the Capital South Channel 7 studio in Montgomery, Alabama, wasn't the usual polite hum of a Monday night policy panel. It was something sharper, coiled. The topic, a controversial education funding bill. Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had just begun outlining her position, noting how funding often mirrored zip codes more than student need, when Senator John Neely Kennedy leaned in, that familiar smirk playing on his lips. "Some of us read the legislation front to back," he drawled, his voice laced with a casual condescension. "Others skim." He paused, letting the implication land. Then, with a light, dismissive laugh, he added, "Maybe you read it. Maybe you didn't grasp it. It happens." He didn't raise his voice. He didn't need to. It was the kind of verbal pat-down designed to diminish, to subtly assert dominance. A few heads in the studio turned. A journalist shifted uneasily. Crockett didn't flinch. 1 second. 2. 3. The silence stretched, not awkward, but charged. Then, her voice, calm and even, cut through. "Senator," she began, "I've been a defense attorney for 15 years. I've read more legal language in a week than some folks do in a lifetime." She wasn't flustered, not in the slightest. "If you'd like," she added, her gaze steady, "I can walk you through the funding clauses line by line." The silence that followed was deliberate, profound. Even the moderator seemed to hold his breath. But Crockett wasn't finished. "And for the record," she continued, her voice gaining a quiet intensity, "I didn't stumble into politics. I ran. After years of defending public school teachers who couldn't afford lawyers. So, let's not pretend I'm out of my depth." Kennedy's smirk faltered, the confident edge dulling. Jasmine leaned forward slightly, her focus unwavering. "What actually worries me, Senator," she said, her tone shifting from defense to a controlled counteroffensive, "isn't that you think I didn't read the bill. It's that you did and still chose to misrepresent it." His face froze. He looked away, then down at his notes. The studio was stone still. Before the moderator could jump in, a voice, clear and sharp, cut through the air. Not from the panel, not from production. It was Robin Delgado, the former principal-turned-commentator, leaning into her mic from the analyst's desk, her eyes wide. "Okay," Delgado declared. "Somebody came with receipts." The crowd didn't laugh, they gasped. A low murmur swept the room. One producer in the control booth reportedly whispered, "Oh my God." In that instant, the entire dynamic of the room had irrevocably flipped. But Jasmine Crockett didn't react to Delgado's comment. She didn't smike, didn't soak in the sudden shift. She simply turned back to the moderator, her composure absolute. "As I was saying," she resumed, as if there had been no interruption, "the bill reinforces existing inequalities. Take East Madison County. One school there still uses history books from 2009. Or North Jasper, where third graders are sharing chairs." She didn't consult her notes, the facts were etched in her mind, products of her meticulous preparation. "This isn't about partisanship," she stated, her voice resonating with quiet conviction. "It's about priorities. And this legislation treats certain schools, certain children, like they don't matter." The shift in the room was palpable, a quiet but undeniable transfer of authority. In the third row, a woman with folded arms slowly nodded, her eyes glistening. Senator Kennedy didn't speak again for a long stretch. He adjusted his sleeve, then his chair, his earlier bravado extinguished. Jasmine Crockett hadn't raised her voice once, but she had unequivocally taken back the room. It hit Twitter 6 minutes after the panel ended. A 37-second screen recording, raw and unedited, posted by a high school teacher in Selma, Alabama. The caption, "She didn't flinch and the room knew it." Within the hour, it had over 80,000 views. Podcasts reposted it. A local radio host dubbed it a calm demolition. The clip, stripped of its broader context, told its own powerful story, a woman, underestimated, calmly dismantling an attempt to diminish her, not with volume, but with facts and an unshakable self-possession. Later that night, in the quiet of her hotel room, Jasmine watched the 37-second clip. The muted sitcom on the TV flickered, background noise to her own internal replay. Everyone called it powerful. But watching it, frame by frame, she felt exposed. Not by what she said, she regretted no word, but because the moment had frozen something she'd spent years learning to balance, the space between what she knew and what people assumed she didn't. Now that space was public, dissected, captioned. She wasn't watching herself speak, she was watching herself become a symbol. And symbols don't get to explain themselves. Her phone buzzed relentlessly. Messages of gratitude, you reminded me I'm allowed to speak. Messages of vitriol, playing the victim, as usual. She was tired, not from talking, but from being heard so intensely, so suddenly, by so many. By the next morning, the clip was everywhere. A Reddit thread titled "When Silence Wins" hit the front page. A TikTok creator stitched the moment, adding, "This isn't about politics. It's about the way black women have to stay calm just to be called reasonable." In a middle school in Athens, Georgia, a teacher played the clip for his civics class. A student, Malia Grant, raised her hand. She didn't make him look weak, Malia said. He did that himself. The conversation wasn't about politics anymore. It was about being listened to, or not. This wasn't just a viral moment. It was rooted in years of unseen work. Years like 2010, in Clayton County, Georgia, defending a 17-year-old named Jalen Rivers, wrongly accused, armed with blurry receipts and school records, fighting a system quick to judge. After Jalen was cleared, a senior attorney had advised her, "Don't push too hard next time. People don't like being shown up." She hadn't been trying to show anyone up. She was trying to keep a kid out of lockup. That quiet fire people saw on the panel? It had been burning for years, fueled by her mother who ran an unofficial resource center from her library desk, and her father, a diesel mechanic, who taught her, folks don't have to like you, but they do need to respect what you bring to the table. The days following the panel brought an avalanche of calls and emails. A retired teacher from Kansas wept, feeling someone had finally voiced what she'd swallowed for years. A man whose wife had passed away said Jasmine reminded him of her quiet strength. But the vitriol came too. Anonymous threats, angry accusations. It wasn't new. The first threat had been a rock through her windshield years ago, but it never stopped being heavy. 3 days later, Senator Kennedy's office issued a 4-paragraph press release, devoid of apology. During a lively debate, some of my comments were mischaracterized online. The internet wasn't buying it. He thought this would work in 2003, one post read. It's 2025. The following Saturday, Jasmine was in Rock Hill, South Carolina. No stage lights, just a community center. She spoke not of policy, but of stories, classrooms without enough headphones, teachers driving hours for donated supplies. Clyde Patterson, a retired mill foreman, initially skeptical, stood up. "I saw that clip," he admitted. "Thought maybe it was a little too sharp. But then I watched it again. That wasn't performance. That was control. That was aimed." The air in the room shifted, becoming not political, but human. On the quiet drive out of Rock Hill, her aide, Marcus, asked, "You ever think about stopping?" Jasmine watched the passing fields. "It's not what he said," she replied finally, her voice almost tired, "but not of the fight. It's that he was so comfortable saying it. The idea that I didn't understand the bill, that was a reflex, a default setting." She paused. "I don't do this because I want to. I do it because if I stop, someone else hears that same silence and thinks it means they are alone again. It's not the interruptions that wear you down. It's the fact that you know they're coming, and you still choose to speak anyway." "Then let's keep driving," Marcus said. "Long way to go." Some people raise their voices to be heard. Others, like Jasmine Crockett, speak with such clarity, such calm, that the silence around them has no place left to hide. It's not about having the last word. It's about making sure the lasting one is true.